the one with the huge resolution. This is 3000 odd by 3000 odd. So it's actually a good idea to just grab it quickly and make it smaller before you take it across. Otherwise, it tends to flood your template. I mean, you can imagine if I hadn't resized that by the time I brought it over, it would have been a bit of a mission. Right, now this is going into group 2. Okay, so we can switch off group 1, and let's just resize this now. And always remember that if you're using Photoshop, when resizing, you want to grab the corner over here. Okay, you want to hold your shift key down. If you don't, you can do this, and it means that you can distort your image more than you should. It doesn't distort nicely, like for instance there, okay, which you don't want. Your shift key, what it does is it locks the aspect ratio, so no matter what, it takes it down on all dimensions, so that it always stays perfectly in the correct aspect. Okay, we're going to place this one here over the doors. Right, so that's done, and that's done. And then one more just for the back here, and then we're going to move on to how you actually get it to stay on the window. So let's just take this one, open with Photoshop. Right, what was its resolution? That is, okay, so that's not a big resolution, so I can just move it across. Right, and this is going to go into group 4. Another good thing you can do is, I mean, I'm just doing this quickly, is if you want to be ordered, is actually name these groups. So that would be like the driver side, passenger side, front, back. It just makes it much easier to work with when you're working a long time. So you sometimes just forget like what layers are where, and it can just really make things simpler. Right, so let's just bring this in, and we're going to put that on the back window over there. Right, so there we go. This is the repaint we're going to do in the tutorial. I know it's not anything fantastic, but what it's going to do is it just shows us how we get everything to stay where we want it. Okay, so let me save this as a PSD again. There we go. Now we just need to do the roof as well. So let's just open the roof, open with Photoshop. We now just select the roof, and I'm just going to apply the same and refer to there. Sorry. And then you press Ctrl-Shift-I and delete. There we go. Now we have just the roof covered. Because as you saw before then, my plugin creates a long hair, so it would have bled over into the actual bus, and you don't want that. Okay, right, so we just flatten that image and we save it. Now, here's the trick. Once you save the image in Photoshop, it is not usable. You cannot use it in the repaint tool. What you need to do is you need to then convert it to the proper BMP format, which you can either use Windows Paint for, or if you're doing a lot of files, like when I was doing, for instance, I was doing the templates, and that was a bit of a mission, because there's about 80 files or so, and I was editing them in Photoshop, so I knew they wouldn't be compatible with the repaint tool. So what I did is I used XNView, which is a freeware open source program, and it has a brilliant batch tool, which you just highlight all your images that you're going to do. You go to batch processing, and you select BMP Windows bitmap, and it will then convert your files back to the proper format. Now, so we've saved that base file there. There you see it, and there's the roof. We're going to create one more file quickly. Okay, what we're going to create is a PNG file. A PNG file is a transparent file, but what we're doing is we're removing just the bus, and we're leaving only the images we've placed. I'll show you why now. Okay, so there we go. Those are the images we've placed on the bus, and we haven't moved them, so we know they're in the perfect place. So now we save this as a PNG. Okay, let's save, and you just press OK. Right, now you can close your Photoshop down. Right, so there we have our roof there, our base skin there, and our PNG there. Now the reason I wanted you to create the PNG is now you open this with paint.net. You cannot do this file in Photoshop. Please note that. You will end up with pitch black windows, because what happens is Photoshop cannot make a transparent TGA file. Okay? Where you see these black and white checkers, these grey and white checkers, means that there's transparency there. In other words, it's see-through. Now, when we save this as a TGA file, it will keep the see-through area. Whereas on Photoshop, it doesn't do that. It replaces all of these black and grey and white checkers with white. So you cannot use Photoshop to make your TGA file, which is what's going to tell the program where your images are that need to be painted over the window. Okay, what we do, very simple with this one, is we just select our magic wand. Okay, we click on any part that we haven't painted, and if you've got an area like that, change that to add, because now you can do that. There we go. And I see there's a small area in the gun there as well, so let me do that. Okay. Sorry, let me just get all these little areas. Okay, so once we've marked everything, and you see we're not marking the images we've placed, we're marking around the images. Okay, once you've done that, press Ctrl I. That automatically now selects just your images. Create a new layer. Okay, select this little second square here. It's a good color. It's a nice gray. And your paint bucket. Now where you... I'll show you what we do there now. And we're going to have the same problem here, I think. Yes, okay. Where that happens, just take a brush. Set your brush to its biggest. And just go over it. Because, of course, your brush is not going to paint anywhere else except where you've actually painted yourself. We're going to have a little bit of a problem with this Call of Duty here, but I'll show you a way around that now. What we do is we take the eraser. Okay, the eraser's big enough. Totally erase the grey that we made. What we'll do is we'll actually use that as the program's command to keep it over the window. Okay, so now you can press Ctrl D. You're done. With these images, because there's such detail, like wording and stuff like that, what I tend to do is I don't like to now go and Gaussian blur the words. I leave the words out. So select your wand again, and only select areas that don't have words. So those two. Okay, and what we do is we now go to Effects, and we say Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'm going to put a Gaussian blur radius of about 132. Okay, and what this will do, you'll see now. There we go. It just fades it a little bit. And the reason I don't want to do that with the wording is I want the wording defined. But what this will do is it will give it almost like, how can I say, it will fade the image almost slightly onto the window so you can still see through the image. If you left it as a solid grey without Gaussian blurring it, what it does is it doesn't fade this. It will print that as if it's smack on the window. You cannot see through it. It's meant to actually block vision. Okay. Now that is done, because we're going to use this part here for the back window, we've got a problem. If I switch off that bottom layer, it disappears. So let's just go to the bottom layer quickly. We'll switch off there. And what I want to do is I just want to delete these two images here. Delete. Otherwise, they're going to interfere with the repaint. Right, there we go. We just say save as. Now we're going to choose a TGA file format, And remember, always change the 01 over there to a TR, transparency. I'm going to call this COD, Call of Duty. Okay, save. You just say, OK, make sure that compress RLE is on and auto detect, and flatten the image. There we go. Right. So now, what we've got is we've got our TGA there. Now I'm going to take this file and just move it to another directory called compiled files. Okay, and I'm going to I want to rename that because we're going to call this bus COD. Right. Okay. Now, our base files are done. There they are. All that has to be done now is convert them. So now we finished with this, we finished with this, we finished with that, finished with that, finished with that. You can either move that to another directory, but I know I'm not going to need it. It's just for a tutorial, so I'm just going to delete it. Okay, there we go. Now, open your repaint tool. Now, it always used to irritate me how I had to press convert, locate my my repaint directory to get the templates and all that. So what I've done is I've created a shortcut on my desktop to the repaint directory in my Omsi thing. So I just double click that. We're doing a 92, so we're going to select we'll compile the roof first. Now this is on the desktop. No, we have here it is in the tutorial and base files. Let's do the roof first. Now you see there, that's the error you're going to get if you do not open it with paint and convert the image. It will always say this, whatever that means, I don't know, but that's how you know that you haven't converted it. So let's just quickly, we just say open with paint and we just save it, close. Same with this file. Okay, so there we go, save it, close. Right. So now we can go to our repaint tool again. We say convert. Now it will automatically remember that you were in this directory for your repaint scripts. So number 2. And now let's take the roof again. And now we get to convert this repaint. Yeah. And you just wait. There's the repaint there. Now we say convert again. Now we're converting the D92-1, which is the main body. There we go. Yeah. Okay, another important thing to remember is never to rename these two files, the roof file. Don't rename the BS in either of these files. You only do that after you've done that. The reason being is these files are actually linked. It needs that file name to know what templates to link it with. If you rename them, it won't know what template you're actually using. Okay, so there we go. There's our two compiled files, our DDS files, which is what we need. So we're going to put that here. So here's everything we need. We've got our two DDS files, and we've got our our TGA file. Okay, and we've got our CTI file, which is a descriptor file which tells Omsi which files to link. This is from a previous repaint I made, so let me just correct this. We're going to replace anything that says AIA with COD. Replace all. Okay, what that